King combined today to win the last feature of the spring, the Eclipse Stakes at Sandown. It was the mare's first trip to the winner's circle since taking the South Australian Oaks last year. King went on to ride a double and 4 favourites won. The first on the program was won by Lusty Habit, who scored by a nose in a bobbing photo from Velvet Blue. The second, Array of Sunshine, very well back, 9-2 into 5-2 favourite. A nice run, the second horse, Proud Sal. Third went to Naran, ridden by Peter Hutchinson at 6-1. The favourite, Brosberg, Never a Hope in the Straight. Favourite in race 4, Due Diligence.
Lake Tahoe and Blazing Eros, finishing well, Lord of the North, but Due Diligence broke away. 2 lengths in front, Lord of the North, Lord Chickton finishing well, but Due Diligence will win it by about 2 lengths to Lord of the North second. I think Lake Tahoe grabbed third and then Southern Challenge.
Due Diligence, the 3-1 favourite, beautifully ridden by Damien Oliver, breaking through for an overdue and convincing win. As we go to the 5th.
200 from Prismatic Star, the outside. Here's Acid Print finishing well. Forgotten Ruler swapping them from last. Acid Print hit the front. Forgotten Ruler coming at him. Acid Print has a next break nearing the line, and Acid Print wins it a neck to on the outside. Forgotten Ruler very, very close for third. We've got Yankee Miner there in company with Prismatic Star and King's Pavilion.
Acid Print at 14-1, getting the money over Forgotten Ruler. King's Pavilion grabbing third, and now the Eclipse.
Across the track with the Mawung taking the lead. Gamine tackles immediately. Eastern Classic fights back. Gamine and Eastern Classic. Gamine the outside. The mare's doing better than Eastern Classic. She's coming away, and Gamine is coming clear in the Eclipse to win it well. Gamine scores by about 3.5 to Eastern Classic. City Gossip third.
Gamine was well tried and far too good for them, winning at 5-2 from Eastern Classic, who won it last year. City Gossip third. Ben Barra Queen favourite in the next.
To finish very quickly, hits the front soon after, then hit the point, but it's Ben Barra Queen striding away. Will win it very handsomely. The Greys are fighting out second and third, but Ben Barra Queen easily from hit the point, and Grey Rose is third. Arrogant.
That was her first win at the 1600, and all 5 victories have been at Sandown. Second placing to hit the point from Grey Rose, and the last went to Dina, a lightly raced and smart mare at 7-1, who's had 8 starts now for 5 wins. That was her first in town. Daily double today, 7 and 1, $59.20. Extra 2 and 9, $13.95. The quaddie 9, 7, 4, 1, $1165.65, and the quad extra for 7, 4, 1 and 16, $2,789 and a bit. Well, the sailing will...
Yes, still plenty to come, so stay with us on Sports World. Time now for racing. Once again, a big welcome to Keith Hillier. How are you, Keith?
I'm well, thank you, Bruce, and it's Japan Cup Day.
Yeah, you've been there a few times for the big race, 3 or 4 times in the mid-80s. A great day, a great occasion?
Oh, it's a fabulous day, Bruce. They'll get a crowd of perhaps 140,000 today to the Japan Cup at Fuchu Racecourse in Tokyo. I've been on the phone this morning to Brian Martin, who was the only English-speaking race caller there, and he said the day has dawned fine. It's going to be a terrific day in Tokyo, and they may run a world record and beat the record set by Horlicks last year, time-wise, because the track is lightning fast and there's so much speed in the race.
I'd imagine Japanese hospitality would be pretty good in Tokyo at this time of the year.
Oh, look, it is lavish, and right to the VIP, top of the word lavish. Bruce, when the Japan Cup was first formed, the idea was for Japan to learn something from international racing, but the Japanese started to lose face a little when their horses couldn't match the international horses, and after 3 years, it was virtually the 4th year, they were on their last chance, and when a Japanese horse won it, that was great, and it saved the Japan Cup. But when a Japanese horse won it the following year, the government started to say, well, have we learned enough? Do we need to go on with this? So they were now pleased that the foreigners are winning again.
We're going to have a look at the Japan Cup on our host, but just a final question on that at this stage before we go to the Eclipse Stakes. How does it rate as a day compared with our Melbourne Cup, atmosphere-wise and as a spectacle?
It doesn't have the Mardi Gras type atmosphere of the Melbourne Cup, but it has so much pageantry. I mean, the horses are saddled 70 minutes before the race, and that might be a factor to upset Stylie's century today. But, gosh, you can't help getting the grip and the feeling in your tummy like you do before a Melbourne Cup that this is a special event.
A great occasion in racing. Well, the Eclipse Stakes isn't one of our greatest races, but it really ends the Spring Carnival in Victoria and Australia for the year. Yesterday we saw a pretty good mare win the Eclipse Stakes, and Gamine, she looks to have some sort of a future, doesn't she?
Yeah, she won by more than 4 lengths, and she stamped her superiority on that field. It was not strong. It was a rather disappointing field, really, for the Eclipse Stakes. She's a mare, Bruce, that is going to be hard to place. She's probably not a 2-miler maybe the Perth Cup would not suit her, and she probably doesn't have the class to win weight for age races. She's very good, but I think something like yesterday was her level.
OK, let's have a look at it, Keith, because as Keith said, it wasn't the best field the Eclipse Stakes has produced over the years. An interesting one, here's the Eclipse of 1990.
David Hayes wasn't at Sandown, he's in Tokyo for the Japan Cup, but the stable was strongly represented. Last year's winner, Eastern Classic. This 8-year-old is the oldest horse the famous owner Robert Sangster races right around the world, and Rashik, who carries the colours of another international tycoon, Sheikh Hamdan. Gamine was very well backed. The 4-year-old mare displaced Rashik as favourite and was sent out at 5-2. The 200-to-1 outsider Petrode Road was the pacemaker, but the race came alive when City Gossip challenged and Eastern Classic responded.
And now sprinting up on the outside, Eastern Classic has gone to the front from City Gossip as they round the turn. Petrode Road can't go on. Ma Wong is finishing on, and they're followed by Carawin Gamine. Rashik is near last as they straighten up, where now City Gossip had ranged up on the outside to tackle Eastern Classic as they set sail for home. Ma Wong is down the outside and wider on the track. Gamine coming home well. It's Eastern Classic on the inside, City Gossip, Ma Wong, and Gamine finishing very strongly down the outside. Looks to be going the better. Gamine on the outside has taken the lead with 150 to go from Eastern Classic, but Gamine drawing clear in the final stages of the Eclipse and drawing well clear, and Gamine will come away to a good win. Gamine has won it by 3 lengths to Eastern Classic. Ahead away third then was City Gossip.
Gamine earlier this year won the Group 1 South Australian Oaks, and yesterday's victory took her stake winnings to $316,000. And it was a welcome change of luck for trainer John Maher.
I suppose Perth might be the next step now, John. Have you considered that?
Well, we've considered it. She's been nominated, but we'll just see how she pulls up and see. She's quite hard to place, Keith, in her own age and sex, or in open mare. She's getting top weight and found it quite difficult, yet in quality miles also found it difficult. So, you know, I'm really happy. The Gracemouth Stakes all today was really a main mission, and, well, she's come through, so I'm pretty excited for the Turnbulls and the fact that she performed so well.
Well, George Harrison once had an album, Keith, All Things Must Pass, and Greg Hall's gone from John Maher's stable, and also Lloyd Williams and Kerry Packer. Stephen King, the jockey, John Maher, the trainer, they will be a formidable combination.
Stephen King recently turned 21 and became a senior jockey by reaching that age, and he is going to make it if he's not already there, Bruce. He was very impressive yesterday, and he'd ridden 2 or 3 winners at Ballarat during the week. He's going to be one of our top-ranking jockeys for many years.
He's a nice guy too, isn't he?
Great guy, yeah. Nice family.
Yeah, it is a good family, good racing family. Queensland Cup was yesterday. Now, there are not that many 3,200-metre races in Australia. We've got the major cups, including the Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth, and then we've got the Duke of Norfolk, and I think there's one other race in Rose Hill, the Stayers Cup. But horses don't really get much of a chance to run over this distance, do they?
No, and the chance was appreciated by Connections because they had a full gate of 20 runners, but 12 of them were on the minimum weight. So the quantity was there, perhaps not the quality.
I couldn't agree with you more. Let's have a look at the Queensland Cup from yesterday.
The Cup attracted a large field. Very few Melbourne Cup prospects, but one old-timer who knows all about the great race, Rising Fear, led the field up. The favourite, Trail Maria, was midfield, with Impossible Mission in front of her and set to strike.
But as they turn the bend, 400 metres to run in the Cup. Apollo and Rising Fear together. Impossible Mission comes to the outside to chase them. Tremoria's into the clear and then Superior Way. But Impossible Mission went to the lead. At the distance pole, Impossible Mission leads. The jock went for the whip. Now Tremoria's running on strongly. Dittman's produced the whip, but Impossible Mission's 2 in front with 100 to run. Tremoria's absolutely flying. The post will be too close. Impossible Mission wins the Cup. Impossible Mission by a neck, Tremoria. Third, Saunders Blue. And
yes, Impossible Mission winning there. Tremoria looked a little unlucky. She's got a future, I think.
She has, and the breed tends to improve with maturity, and I think that next season she'll get away with one of the major handicaps.
Bit sad to see Rising Fear still going around. I know that, you know, he's been a great old horse and everything, but he is old, and God, he's done some work in the last
No, I
few
think
months.
you're a bit kind saying it's a bit sad.
Yeah.
I think it's verging on being a tragedy that horse is still racing, Bruce.
He is a brave horse, and he's running the Melbourne Cup behind that Talac was just fantastic, but it's a lot of years ago now, and he's had a lot of runs since.
He's earned retirement.
He sure has. Well, one other horse who's retired is Horlicks. Didn't she thrill us all at this time last year when she broke a world record to win the Japan Cup? That's where we're going right now, to have a look at her win. This is the start of the race. I'm not sure, Keith, do they use pacemaker? I mean, I guess they don't in the Japan Cup have a pacemaker like they do in Europe.
They don't, but they're very conscious of timing. In fact, when the first Japanese horse won this race, they were pleased with the win naturally, but they were disappointed about the slow time. But as you can see, the pace is on in this race all the way.
And Horlicks is holding out Aguri Cap. Now, Aguri Cap's a grey on the outside, so it was a battle between the two greys. There's Aguri Cap on the left and Horlicks on the right. This Aguri Cap's won more than 8 million Australian dollars, which shows you something about Japanese stake money.
Now, he's running in the Cup again today. This will be his third try at the Cup. He's a very honest horse, one of the better performed Japanese horses. Incidentally, Bruce, news through this morning also, Michael Clark had a bit of an accident yesterday. He was riding in the foreign jockeys race. He was on an unruly mare who threw her head back behind the start and cut him under the eye to the cheekbone. Now, it was stitched later. He was declared fit to ride in the Cup. He's going to try and avoid riding in an earlier race today, another invitation race. But if he does, he may be stood down for 3 days riding under quite severe Japanese rules. But Michael will ride in the Cup with some stitching and a shiner.
OK, well, that's better loosen up, fans. Take that into consideration. Let's have a look and see how Australian horses and New Zealand horses have done over the years. Keith, you were there for a number of these years, and one of the pivotal moments was in 1986. Waverley Star ran 5th. That was the year of the Cox Plate Waverley Star Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher nearly lost his life in Japan and didn't take part in the race.
I'll never forget that day. It was virtually Cup Eve, Bruce. I went out to the highly secured stables at the course, and there was Bone Crusher in so much pain, and he was so close to death. In fact, vets later said, after taking his temperature, that he was 1 degree from death. And he went back and tried valiantly the following year, but he was never the same horse, in my opinion.
No, well, the Philbert was placed. He was 3rd earlier on, and then Horlicks won last year. This year it's Stylish Century and Better Loosen Up. Let's have a look at the Derby over 12 months ago where Stylish Century won. Keith, this was where Stylish Century was at his top. He had Counterfeit, Zamoff, Dr. Grace and Interstellar chasing him. I just got my doubts whether this is he's as good at 4 as he was at 3.
Yes, I tend to agree, Bruce. He has shown flashes of his former brilliance. His second in the Cox Plate, his second in the McKinnon Stakes, but he's never produced a run like this one we're watching now.
So that's when he won the Derby as a 3-year-old. He went on to run in the Melbourne Cup and was 21st, or pulled up basically in last placing. Now this year in the Cox Plate, Kevin Moses used incredible tactics. He's always been a front runner, a bit like Vo Rogue. But have a look at how far he went out in the Cox Plate. He leads by about 15 to 20 lengths at one stage. You can see the margin. King's High's in second placing. It was a record run. He'd set it up, Stylish Century. I don't think there's any doubt, Keith, that they overdid it. And when we get to about the 500, he's only 3 in front. Better Loosen Up is on the right of the screen, about to make his run. And in the end, it was a fairly soft win by Better Loosen Up.
It was. You'll notice as Better Loosen Up goes to the line, although the margin was narrow, Michael Clark in fact stopped this punishing riding that he's displaying now, and Better Loosen Up won narrowly, but as you said, softly.
He picks up Siddiston, who was in great form. Now Stylish Century battles on pretty well. It was a good run, but you wonder how much that takes out of a horse. Better Loosen Up winning. So a week later they get together in the McKinnon Stakes on Derby Day. This time Moses didn't go out with the big league. He held the horse up and revved him up from the 800, and we picked them up on the turn with Better Loosen Up now chasing Stylish Century. And again, it was a rather soft win. He was always just going to win again, wasn't he?
Yes, now, no excuses this day for Stylish Century. He was rated well by Kevin Moses, but there's Better Loosen Up now making what is to be a winning run, and that's the sort of run we're hoping he's going to produce this afternoon, Bruce, in Japan.
You get the feeling, Keith, that he'll beat Stylish Century wherever they finish today because of his performances here in the spring. And I also get the feeling the faster the pace, the better he'll go.
Yes, I agree on those points, and form followers must be the same the world over, you know. In the markets from Japan this morning, Better Loosen Up is a 7-2 second favourite, and Stylish Century a 25-1 chance.
Speaking of betting, we checked with the Victorian TAB on the odds. Now, this is what Better Loosen Up is going to pay this morning, $1.30 for 50 cents, so he's not much value. Belmez, who won the King George in England this year, which is their Cox Plate, at $2.70.
Well, that naturally is odds of almost 9-2. In Japan, Belmez is the 7-4 favourite.
So they're good odds. Now, Stylish Century's ridiculous odds. He's about 40-1, I think, over there, isn't he?
Yes, he's at least 25-1, and on the tote here, less than 6-1.
And Aguri Cap will be good value in Australia at $9.65. He's the top Japanese horse, so Better Loosen Up is very, very short.
The American horse Elwash is also over the odds at 15-1, and from reports from Brian Martin this morning, he might be the best of the American horses.
So what do you think? Do you give Better Loosen Up a real winning chance?
I do, Bruce. He's going to have to be almost a 2-miler. He has had one start and one failure at 2,400 metres, but that was on a heavy track. I think that with this cracking pace that will be set, that he might come over the top of them, and boy, I'd love to see it.
It'd be great. You say about a 2-miler. That's because it's an undulating track. There's a couple of very stiff hills in the track.
Yes, and the worst of all is in the straight. There's a rise of some 4 feet in the straight, and it is a real uphill grind, and that's when the Stylish Centuries and the other leaders in this race, or the front runners in this race, will be really feeling the pinch.
Well, one of my friends, I won't name him, is in Tokyo today. He's having 950,000 yen on Better Loosen Up. Sounds a lot of money. It is.
Right. Incidentally, for the first time, a lady will ride in the Cup, Julie Crone, the American girl. She's ridden 2,000 winners, and she won the foreign race yesterday, and it brought the grandstand down. She sprang off the horse like a circus performer, and the Japanese loved her. So if she wins, watch for reaction there.
Yes, I've read a lot of stories about her. Apparently she's absolutely outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah. Keith, thanks very much for reliving some of those Japanese Cup memories, and you'll be back next week with all the big races from Perth, and also a rehash of the Japan Cup.
Yes, racing is never ending, isn't it, Bruce? We'll have a look at Perth next week, and I'll see you soon. Good luck in the States.
OK, thanks very much. OK, Miracle Miles on this Friday night, $300,000 race, the big race in harness racing. Last Friday night, it looks like Vin Knight's got another horse into the Miracle Mile with Sinbad Bay. It looks at this stage that Thorate, Westburn Grant, the New Zealander Tight Connection, and our Meter Boy from the Knight Stable will all be in. Here's Sinbad Bay leading Defoe. He ran 157.3. He's only had 5 runs back from a very long spell. He is a brilliant horse, and if he does draw the right barrier, he'll be exceptionally hard to beat in the Miracle Mile, and we will have a report on the Miracle Mile next Sunday in the program. The great race in Australian harness racing, of course, with the Inter-Dominion Pacing Championships. Well, the Australian racing industry is seriously concerned about a number of recent horse poisonings, I should say.